This thrilling story begins by introducing a boy named Yengu. Yengu belonged to a middle-class family, and his father was a police officer. The saddest part was that Yengu's mother had passed away many years ago, and ever since then, he had been living without her. We all know how important a mother's role is in a child's upbringing, but Yengu's father never let that become a weakness. He was a very simple and deeply spiritual man who had great faith in God, and he taught all those values to Yengu as well. They used to visit church once a week and pray there. Yengu would accompany his father to the church, where everyone was praying together. The priest told everyone that God is the greatest, and if you pray with a true heart, he will grant your wishes. After having all these thoughts instilled in him, Yengu developed a special place for God in his heart. He believed that God was real and helped people, and that if he prayed with sincerity, his wishes would be fulfilled. However, one question kept circling in Yengu's mind, and eventually, he went to ask his father. He plainly asked, if our mother was dying, then why didn't we pray at that time? If we had prayed sincerely, wouldn't God have brought her back to life? Yengu's father had no answer. He simply told Yengu that his mother had taken birth somewhere else and was happy in her new life. After convincing Yengu somehow, they returned home. But Yengu still remained connected to God. One night, Yengu's father had a late-night duty, so he left Yengu at home with his nanny and went out. During his duty, he was conducting checks on a road when suddenly a couple came speeding in their car. Yengu's father immediately stopped them and asked for their driving license and legal documents, but the couple seemed mentally unstable and started laughing. The boy's eyes began to glow red, and suddenly they tried to speed away in their car. Yengu's father was still holding on to the car, and if he fell, he could be seriously injured. But the couple didn't slow down and kept driving recklessly. Eventually, Yengu's father was thrown off and fell hard, sustaining major injuries. He was quickly shifted to a nearby hospital. His condition was critical, and treatment started immediately. The family was informed, and Yengu rushed to the hospital. Seeing his father in such a terrible condition, Yengu was devastated. He ran straight to the church and began praying to God with all his heart. He believed that if he prayed sincerely, his father would be saved. He began reciting all the prayers he had learned from his father and the priests. Even the priest at the church joined Yengu in his prayers. But the shocking news came the next day. Yengu's father had passed away. As soon as Yengu heard the news, the little boy was completely stunned. All the positive feelings he had toward God instantly turned into dark resentment. He began to believe that God was powerless, because he had prayed with full devotion, and yet, God didn't save his father. Now Yengu was completely orphaned. He had neither his mother nor his father. In his rage, Yengu even began attacking the priest at the church, because it was the priest who had taught him everything about God since childhood. Yengu now firmly believed that God did not exist, that he couldn't fulfill anyone's wishes, and therefore, praying to him was completely pointless. At such a young age, Yengu had already developed such intense hatred toward God. Obviously, now Yengu had to live his life entirely on his own. Slowly, many years passed, and the story jumps ahead by 20 years. Yengu had grown up to be strong and powerful. In fact, he had become a skilled MMA fighter. Yengu was participating in a tournament, and today he had an important match. He entered the ring, and his opponent appeared. As Yengu was getting ready, he suddenly noticed a cross symbol on his opponent's body. It was the Christian cross, the symbol of God. Seeing it triggered something in Yengu's mind. It was as if dark forces started taking over, whispering to him that God was his enemy. He began seeing God in his opponent, and that made Yengu extremely angry. His eyes turned red for some unknown reason, and as soon as the fight began, Yengu brutally attacked his opponent. He inflicted so much damage that the opponent was nearly killed. Thankfully, the referee stepped in just in time to separate them. Everyone was shocked to see Yengu fight with such aggression. He had never fought like this before. His usual style was more defensive. Even Yengu himself didn't understand what came over him in that moment. Although Yengu won the match, he began his journey back to his town. While sleeping on the flight, he suddenly began to have visions of his father. In those visions, his father was calling him toward a certain place. When Yengu followed his father, he found himself in a room where a photo of his father was placed, and in front of it was a cross. Even though Yengu had grown up, the memory of his father's death was still fresh. His hatred toward God remained just as strong as it had been in his childhood. Seeing the cross again enraged him so much that he picked it up and threw it away. But something strange happened. The cross got stuck to Yengu's hand. But the cross wouldn't come off his hand, as if his father was trying to convey something through it. Yengu understood one thing clearly. It was a sign to restore his faith in God. But that was something Yengu could never do again. What he had fixed in his heart wasn't going to change. Suddenly, Yengu woke up from his sleep, thinking it must have been a dream. But in reality, where the cross had stuck to his hand, there was now a small wound. He couldn't understand how this was connected to reality. As soon as the flight landed, Yengu showed the injury on his hand to a doctor. After examining it, the doctor said it was just a minor wound that would heal in a few days. He prescribed some medication and advised him to get proper rest. Back home, while Yengu was sleeping, a dark shadow appeared over him. This shadow was terrifying, with massive tentacles, and it was trying to forcefully enter Yengu's body. Its target was the wound on Yengu's hand, the same spot where the cross had stuck. Through that wound, it was trying to possess him. During this whole struggle, more blood started oozing from Yengu's hand, and he writhed in pain. Suddenly, Yengu woke up again, and the shadow vanished. He saw the blood still fresh on his hand and immediately went with his driver to the doctor to get first aid. Even the doctors couldn't understand how the wound was worsening on its own. They had no solution. Yengu was extremely disturbed. He couldn't even sleep properly anymore. After observing all this, Yengu's driver suggested something. He said, "You should meet my niece. She's blind, but she has psychic powers. She can sense dark forces that reside within people." So the driver recommended that Yengu visit her at least once. Yengu decided to give it a try and soon reached the niece's place. When she started examining him, she immediately saw the dark shadows surrounding him. The girl was frightened and began to tell Yengu the truth. She said, "There's some kind of dark power inside you that's attracting these spirits. And when you become weak enough, they will start controlling you. She also noticed the mark on Yengu's hand and said, "You need to go to a church. There's one nearby. You might find your answers there." So, without wasting time, Yengu set off for the church. But the moment he approached the church, a huge number of raven birds suddenly emerged and began attacking him. They came in such large numbers that Yengu had to quickly retreat to his car and sit quietly for a while. All of this was happening because, inside the church, two priests were performing an exorcism on a possessed man. One of the priests was named Yen, and he was assisted by another helper. The man in front of them was possessed by a powerful and terrifying entity. And it seemed that even the sacred chants being recited had no effect on the dark spirit. Instead, the spirit began screaming even more violently. After a while, the possessed man broke free and directly attacked Father Yen, attempting to kill him. Father Yen's assistant was so terrified that he ran away, abandoning him. We are then shown a horrifying form of the evil spirit that had possessed the man. Father Yen was helpless, unable to do anything, while the evil spirit kept attacking him. But fortunately, Yengu arrived just in time and threw the possessed man away from the priest. The demonic spirit tried to attack Yengu as well, but when Yengu placed his wounded hand on the spirit's face, its head suddenly began to burn. It seemed like the spirit was weakening rapidly. Seeing the opportunity, Father Yen quickly splashed holy water on the man's body. This caused all the evil spirits within him to be expelled, and the man returned to normal. Father Yen couldn't understand how Yengu had managed to do all this. That's when Yengu showed him the wound on his hand. As soon as Father Yen saw it, he was shocked. He looked directly at the wound and then at a depiction of Jesus Christ's hand, realizing that there might be some divine connection between Yengu and God. Father Yen began explaining the mark to Yengu. He said it was the same kind of wound that appeared on Jesus' hand when he was crucified. "This is no ordinary injury," Father Yen said. "It's a gift from God. It only appears on those who had the deepest faith in him. With this power, one can fight even the most dangerous evil spirits. Among so many people, God chose only you, Yengu." But Yengu, shocked, replied that he didn't believe in God at all, that he had no faith in any of this. So why would God choose him? Just as he said this, dark powers began to overwhelm him again. Yengu's head throbbed in intense pain, and he started hearing voices, spirits whispering, urging him to kill the priest standing before him. Yengu, overwhelmed and tormented, dropped to the floor. Father Yen understood what was happening, so he began chanting sacred prayers. After a while, the dark forces released their grip, and Yengu felt free once again. To explain everything in detail, why Yengu had received these powers, he took Father Yen to his home. Father Yen examined everything carefully and already had a sense of who Yengu was, the son of a man who had always believed deeply in God. These powers must have come from his father's devotion. Intentionally, Father Yen placed a cross symbol behind a photo frame before leaving. That night, Yengu went to sleep. Surprisingly, he didn't have any nightmares. Perhaps it was due to his father's cross. Yengu actually felt a bit at peace. But despite this, he still didn't believe in God. The next morning, he took the cross and returned it to Father Yen. Father Yen was starting to worry about Yengu. He knew that unless Yengu regained his faith in God, he too would eventually fall under the control of the evil spirits. Now, we are shown the same man who had appeared years ago, when Yengu's father had died. That man's name was Jisung, and it is revealed that he was the one responsible for orchestrating the car accident that killed Yengu's father. It becomes clear that Jisung is a worshipper of spirits. He allows dark forces to take over his body in exchange for power. Jisung runs a bar where he's seen sitting one evening, when an investor suddenly arrives, demanding to cancel their contract. Jisung becomes extremely angry at the investor's tone. In his fury, he creates strange symbols on his arm and activates the demonic energy inside him. The demon somehow manipulates the investor's mind, planting false thoughts like, "Your brother is trying to take over your entire business." Under the demon's influence, the investor is driven to murder his own brother. This is how Jisung controls and manipulates people into killing others. These events reveal how dangerous the dark powers inside him truly are. Later, Jisung is shown arriving at a completely abandoned place. There, he begins performing a dark ritual, placing a strange heart in front of him. He chants demonic incantations before the evil spirits, and the heart comes to life. Jisung then performs multiple steps of the ritual, ultimately resulting in the death of another investor. Essentially, he offered that man's soul to the dark spirits. After doing this, Jisung's powers grew even stronger, and he began to look younger. That's the reason why, even after so many years, Jisung looks the same. This is how he keeps sacrificing people to demonic spirits in return for youth and power. Because of these rituals, Jisung has become so immensely powerful. Now, we shift back to Father Yen, who has taken on a new case. This case involved a young girl possessed by an extremely dangerous spirit. Around the same time, Yengu also came to Father Yen, asking for help on how to rid himself of the evil spirits attached to him. Father Yen gave him a pendant with a cross symbol on it, explaining that it would protect him from dark forces, but only if Yengu kept his faith in God. Yengu began to think deeply about these words. Later, he also offered to drive Father Yen to his next location. While on the way, Yengu started reflecting. He saw in Father Yen the same qualities and sense of responsibility his own father had. So how could Yengu let Father Yen go alone? He decided to join him for the exorcism. They arrived at the house where the possessed girl lived. Surprisingly, she was sitting calmly, not appearing to be possessed at all. Father Yen approached her with a cross and even touched her with it, but the demonic spirit didn't react. Still, Father Yen was sure the demon was inside her. He just needed a little more time to draw it out. Father Yen now directly takes the holy water and pours it into the girl's mouth. As soon as he does, the demon inside her starts vomiting blood violently. It fully manifests outside her body and glares at both of them menacingly. Without wasting a second, the demon launches a direct attack on Father Yen. Yengu, who was present at the scene, couldn't bear to see Father Yen getting beaten. So he stepped in to help and dragged the possessed girl away from the demon. But the demon was incredibly powerful. It lifted Yengu up and touched him, saying, You don't believe in God, but before your father died, I had already started to take control over you. This enraged Yengu. He began to attack the girl under demonic control, striking her with his hands and hurting her badly. Yengu's eyes soon turned red, indicating that the evil spirits were trying to possess him too. But just in time, Father Yan intervened and separated Yengu from her. Yengu then placed his wounded hand on the girl's forehead and, with the help of holy water, she returned to normal. But then something strange happened. Blood began to drip from her eyes again. This was because elsewhere, Jisung was performing a dark ritual. He was offering the girl's soul to his demon to become even more powerful. Jisung had a voodoo doll representing the girl. Father Yan quickly realized what was happening and began praying. He chanted powerful mantras that caused the voodoo doll in front of Jisung to catch fire. Because of this, Jisung couldn't complete his ritual. The girl's life was saved, barely. But Jisung was furious. He knew that it was Father Yan who had disrupted his sacrifice. He realized that to move forward, he would have to eliminate Father Yan first. Only then could he continue sacrificing people and offering their souls to his demon to grow stronger. So now, Jisung devised a foolproof plan. Instead of possessing another adult, he decided to use a small child. Jisung, disguised as someone else, appeared in a parking lot where he encountered Yengu. He tried to manipulate him by saying, "Don't trust Father Yan, he's setting you up. He's making you trust a false god. In the end, you'll end up like me." Now Yengu's mind was filled with confusion. He already didn't believe in God, and now, he started to doubt Father Yan as well. The next day, Father Yan called Yengu. He had found another case. This time, a young child had been possessed. We, as viewers, already know who was behind it. But Yengu didn't answer Father Yan's call. As a result, Father Yan had to go alone to perform the exorcism. The child was severely possessed and had been tormenting the nurses there. As soon as Father Yan arrived, he began the exorcism ritual. He held the child carefully, trying his best not to hurt him. The spirit inside the child was extremely powerful. Meanwhile, Yengu was meeting with a sponsor who was supposed to help fund his participation in another tournament. Back at the exorcism, Father Yan was reciting his prayers and managed to expel the spirit from the child's body. But then, to his shock, he discovered that there wasn't just one spirit inside the child, there were thousands. Father Yan checked the child thoroughly and was stunned to find that he was possessed by countless demonic spirits, many of which were categorized as beasts. Even Father Yan didn't know how many he could exorcise before he would run out of strength. As time passed, he grew weaker, while the spirits became more aggressive and began harming him. Meanwhile, Yengu started getting worried about Father Yan's safety, but he didn't know exactly where he was. Realizing time was running out, Yengu rushed to help him. The dealer sitting across from Yengu had red eyes too. It turned out that Jisung had possessed him as well. Back at the scene, the spirits inside the child were about to kill Father Yan. But at the last moment, Jisung himself arrived, placed his wounded hand on the child's body, and all the evil spirits were instantly expelled. However, Jisung was furious. In his rage, he possessed a nearby dog and made it attack the child directly. The attack was fatal, the child died. In exchange for delivering that soul, the demon granted Jisung new powers and gave him a cursed dagger, a weapon capable of killing even the most powerful beings. Later, when Father Yan and Yengu came to see the child, they found Jisung already there. Jisung quickly grabbed Father Yan and threatened him with the cursed dagger. Then he turned to Yengu and said, "Repeat the words I say, and the holy mark on your hand will vanish forever." Yengu realized that if he did this, he would never be able to stop Jisung again. Father Yan tried to stop him, but Jisung was ready to kill. At that moment, Father Yan deliberately drove the cursed dagger into his own body to absorb the curse and prevent it from harming Yengu. As the curse spread through his body, Jisung fled the scene. Yengu rushed Father Yan to his assistant and tried everything to save him. But it was clear, Father Yan didn't have much time left. Before dying, Father Yan gave Yengu his cross ring, the same one he had used all his life to fight against evil forces. He told Yengu it would help him in the battles to come. Moments later, Father Yan died on the spot. Now filled with rage and a desire for vengeance, Yengu swore to destroy Jisung. He made all necessary preparations and set out to confront him. On the other side, Jisung had already possessed everyone around him, offering their souls to the demon in exchange for even more power. Jisung's strength was rapidly increasing. But then, Yengu arrived. As Yengu entered, hordes of possessed people came toward him. And Yengu fought them off one by one, using his holy powers and bare hands. No one was able to stand against Yengu. He went straight toward Jisung to kill him. But Yengu had no idea how much more powerful Jisung had become. Right in front of the demon, Jisung sacrificed himself using the cursed dagger. It was actually a ritual, to completely offer his body to the devil. Within moments, the demon took over Jisung's body and granted him immense power. Jisung's body began transforming into a monstrous creature. Just then, Yengu entered the place and began fighting him. But obviously, Jisung now had far greater strength, thanks to the demon. Yengu kept trying, even placing his hand on Jisung's face, but it had no effect. Jisung was now so strong that Yengu's holy powers stopped working. With his sharp claws, Jisung inflicted severe damage on Yengu and threw him to the ground. He slashed Yengu so brutally that Yengu fell unconscious. But in that moment, Yengu had a vision of his father. In the vision, his father simply told him, "Have faith in God. He always helps those who believe in him, no matter what." For the first time, Yengu accepted his father's words, and began to truly believe in God. Suddenly, a divine flare began to glow from Yengu's hand. It was clear, his powers had increased dramatically. Now fully charged, Yengu returned to fight Jisung. This time, the fight between the two was perfectly matched. Yengu dodged all of Jisung's attacks and dealt heavy damage in return. He then summoned the ring that Father Yan had given him. And the moment he held it, his powers grew even stronger. Yengu launched his final smash, a powerful punch that shattered Jisung's body. Jisung's strength completely disintegrated, and he collapsed on the ground, half dead. It was clear, Yengu had defeated him. Just then, from the gates of hell, giant demonic hands emerged. They dragged Jisung's body away. Yengu, after defeating everyone, returned to the hospital. And to his delight, he found that Father Yan had recovered thanks to the demon's death. Yengu ran and hugged Father Yan tightly. From this day on, Yengu would forever believe in God. And with that, our thrilling story comes to an end.